She does have some issues as far as addiction. Baby, write that second book so we can talk about it. And I won't judge you because I'm not really judging you in this book. I just provide commentary. That's what I do. I comment on in the book.
I don't hear nobody out there. Hold it down.
Trying to get things together. I'm fitting to go out of town. Well, in July, I'm going back home. I'm going to be off of work from June 23rd to July 23rd. It's just going to be a whole break. And I'm trying to get as much done in regards to the book club as possible. Okay? So when I put up, please tip your favorite narrator at $Renée on YouTube via Cash App. That's what I mean. Go and give me a tip over there at the Cash App because I'm fitting to go home and I want to have a good time without having to dip into the savings. You're all pretty good to me. I appreciate all the things you do. Ooh, and my Patreon membership has picked up. And my YouTube membership has picked up. I love you. I love y'all because y'all love me. I'm not telling them shit. I'm done. I'll meet with my lawyer on my own time. And with that, I walked out of his office and out of that building. Slowly but surely, I was determined to shed the negativity from my life. I was not trying to allow caustic people and situations to poison my world. I had a child on the way, a husband and 2 children who needed to be cared for. I had no time for any of the bullshit. It turned out that Big's estate was an absolute mess. With all those attorneys and accountants sitting in on that meeting, I couldn't understand how his paperwork could have been so shoddy. Big had several business ventures that should have brought substantial profits, but most of those arrangements turned out to be little more than handshake deals with nothing formal outlined. It was obvious that Big had paid little attention to his money and how it was spent or invested. You got to make sure that your financial affairs are intact. You love your person, but after the love, what's next? Because love don't take care of the bills. I know some of yous be like, oh, we'll just have the 4th baby and the baby will eat love. Y'all not always going to be pulling each other's clothes off. Eventually, y'all going to have to find connections other ways. And you're going to have to turn your marriage into a business in order for you all to be a successful couple. Love does not buy groceries, especially in 2024. Okay? Love does not pay the car note. Love does not pay the mortgage. What pays the mortgage is 2 people sitting down together, putting that love bullshit to the side, and coming up with a plan to succeed in a society that is not meant to succeed in. That's what marriage is about. Yeah, you got vows and everything, but baby, I'm telling you, going to church, that's right, Lulu. Going to church every Sunday and praying to God that your relationship works, yes, that's part of it. The other part of it is being partners. And I have no idea how Faith was so smart with her business affairs, making sure that she was paid appropriately, making sure she got in touch with P. Diddy or Thick Thighs Diddy, Wide Hip Diddy, whatever it is, and making sure he understood what her requirements were in order for her to do the work that he asked her to do. How is it that they're not communicating? Hey, did Puppy pay you? Because he surely paid me. It just goes back to the fact that they were only married on paper and not as a partnership. A few weeks after that meeting, I spoke to my attorney and told him I wanted to share the administration of the estate with Miss Wallace. Even though I tried to not let the business stuff get to me, it still did. I wasn't even sure if I was handling it all properly. A prime example of this was when I decided it was time for me to move on to a new attorney. To this day, I don't feel like I handled it in the right way. Stuart Levy had been there for me since I sang background vocals as a teenager in high school. Pause. Don't forget that Todd is her manager. I wonder if Todd was like, okay, you need to leave Stuart alone. Maybe you need to go over here and work with my attorney. You ask me, he probably didn't introduce her to the boogity sugary because she was on Bad Boy. But I believe that in some relationships, they just keep the partner high. And then that way they don't know what's going on. Making tough business decisions took a certain skill that didn't come naturally to me back then. All this affected me as I went into the studio to record my second album. After Big's death, my relationship with Bad Boy really suffered. At the time that he died, I'd already felt like I was on my own. Afterward, I really felt isolated. I was having a hard time connecting with Puff, literally and figuratively. He was producing tracks for Lil' Kim's album, and I saw that he was hanging out quite a bit with the members of Junior Mafia. This was totally fine, but I was actually signed to his label, and I felt like my project should take precedence. I've always been an artist who benefited from being nurtured, like that relationship Clive Davis has been known to have with his artist. Pause. I believe that Phyllis Hyman was that person too. And I think she already had some mental health issues, but when Whitney Houston came in and he put, what's her name, Phyllis Hyman on the back burner, she couldn't take that. Some people just need that connection at all times.
Phyllis Hyman was a great vocal talent. I really did not work with her from the beginning, and I only made the association in the sort of a later part of her career. But she was majestic. She was vocally excellent. She never achieved perhaps the greatness of success when you hear of Gladys Knight, Aretha, or Dale Morwood. But you, loving music, you would know that she really was one of the great talents, and her vocal prowess was terrific. Phyllis was a great artist.
Davis taught me to never be afraid because I was so terrorized by him. Whether he meant to do it or not, I'll never know. But he sure taught me that if you try to terrorize me again, well, we can't say that on public radio. What I may do to someone who tries to hurt me again in this business, I'm not having it. I should be respected as I respect, and I will not have someone try to ruin my spirit and ruin my career. If Clive Davis, if his plan was to destroy my career, it didn't work.
Puffy, what the fuck you do to Clive Davis? But Clive Davis is not an artist. And as Puff moved closer and closer to performing outright, as opposed to just doing a verse here and there, it became more difficult to get his attention. When we won a Grammy for I'll Be Missing You, I wasn't at the ceremony. I retreated more and more into a shell as my belly continued to grow and I prepared for the birth of my third child. I was in and out of the studio recording. I have to admit, I didn't choose the songs as carefully as I wanted to. I just felt myself being pulled in so many directions. It was nothing like the making of my first album. Big had been taking me through a lot back then, and that emotion came out in the music. But it was nothing like this. It wasn't just a wayward husband now. It was like the whole world was out to get me. I started thinking about leaving Bad Boy. Maybe I needed a fresh start on a new label. But anytime I breathed a word of this to anyone besides Todd, people looked at me like I was crazy. I was starting to feel like I was in some kind of mafia that you couldn't voluntarily leave. By the time I completed my second album, which I titled Keep the Faith, I'd given birth to my third child, a son whom Todd and I named Joshua. I barely had time to breathe and recover from labor and delivery before I had to shoot the video for my first single, Love Like This. Dealing with the media was tough. I had to give Todd credit for helping me. By the time I had to do press for the album, I was remarried with another child. Pause. So a lot of yous in the comments are saying that Faith needs to do another book. She really does. Faith, if you're looking at this, which sometimes my people are, you really do need to do another book. From where you left Bad Boy to now. Because you need to incorporate in all the bullshit that you went through with Todd, because in this book, Todd is the most magnificent man in the world, girl. And we all know that you and him had some issues, girl. And she does have some issues as far as addiction. Baby, write that second book so we can talk about it. And I won't judge you, because I'm not really judging you in this book. I just provide commentary. That's what I do. I comment on in the book. By the time I had to do press for the album, I was remarried with another child. That could have been awkward. But Todd didn't let me wallow in feeling uncomfortable. It was what it was. I'd moved on. And if people had an issue with it, that was their problem, not mine. I reveled in my new family. China was just as smart and sassy as ever. CJ was getting so big, looking more like his father every day. And my baby Josh was a sweet antidote to the stresses of my day-to-day life. We all relocated to Atlanta for a fresh start and an opportunity to have a larger house for our growing family. Keep the Faith became a top 10 album, and the first two singles charted in the top 10 on Billboard's Hot 100 singles. I went on tour with Drew Hill to support the album. I will always be indebted to Chucky Booker, who served as my musical director on the tour. Keep the Faith went on to sell 1 million copies and was certified platinum, just like my debut album, because Faith used a bad motherfucker. Todd and I decided I would start recording on my own without waiting for Puff to set up my official recording budget and put me in the studio. We blew back and forth from Atlanta to Los Angeles and met with several producers. It cost us quite a bit of money, but we knew if we wanted to get Puff's attention, we'd have to take some risks of our own and not just wait for him to take notice.
Hey, do my favorite go-go song. Taking a ride on the east side, made a left on MLK. What a beautiful day, what a beautiful day. Riding high on the west side, looking for a hood rat to play. Won't you come out and play, won't you come out and play. Hey, taking a ride, hey, hey, on the south side, ooh, ooh, taking that on MLK. Hey, hey, hey. We like that